Albion Prison sexual abuse lawyer, the law firm of Andrew M. Stengel, attorney Andrew M. Stengel. Women incarcerated at Albion Correctional Facility in New York have described sexual abuse, coercion, and exploitation at the hands of correctional staff. For survivors who are still inside or who have only recently been released, the decision to come forward can feel impossible. However, the law is firmly on your side. If you experience sexual abuse at Albion Prison, you may have the right to file a civil lawsuit and recover significant financial compensation. At the law firm of Andrew M. Stengel, PC, we represent survivors of prison sexual abuse throughout New York. A New York sexual abuse lawyer from our firm will listen, protect your rights, and fight to hold abusers and their institutions fully accountable. What survivors experience at Albion Prison. Sexual abuse in prison rarely resembles what most people imagine. It does not always involve outright physical force. Instead, it frequently involves coercion, manipulation, and the exploitation of the enormous power that correctional officers hold over every aspect of an incarcerated person's life. Women at Albion Prison have reported officers using their control over housing, discipline, medical access, and daily privileges to pressure inmates into sexual contact. When a person's safety, communication with family, and protection from punishment all depend on the goodwill of a single officer, the ability to say no is not real. That is precisely why New York law treats sexual contact between correctional staff and inmates as unlawful, regardless of how the encounter is framed. Similar patterns have been reported at Bedford Hills Correctional Facility and Taconic Correctional Facility. These are not isolated failures. They reflect a systemic problem within New York's prison system that demands legal accountability. Why New York law protects Albion Prison sexual abuse victims. One of the most important legal principles in prison sexual abuse cases is this: consent is not a valid defense. Under New York law, sexual contact between a correctional officer and an incarcerated person is unlawful by definition. The power imbalance built into that relationship eliminates any possibility of freely given consent. No officer can claim otherwise in court. Beyond New York law, federal law provides powerful additional protections. The Eighth Amendment to the United States Constitution prohibits cruel and unusual punishment. Federal courts have repeatedly held that sexual abuse by correctional staff constitutes unconstitutional punishment, giving survivors the right to pursue civil rights claims under 42 U.S.C. Section 1983. Furthermore, the Prison Rape Elimination Act, a federal law enacted in 2003, requires correctional facilities to prevent, report, and investigate all sexual abuse. When prisons like Albion, Bedford Hills, or Taconic fail to meet those standards, they face serious civil liability. Who can be held accountable in an Albion prison sexual abuse lawsuit? A successful prison sexual abuse lawsuit often targets more than just the officer who committed the abuse. In many cases, the strongest legal arguments run against the institution itself and the supervisors who allowed misconduct to continue unchecked. The law firm of Andrew M. Stengel. PC investigates every level of the chain of command in Albion Prison's sexual abuse cases. Beyond the individual officer, potentially liable parties include supervisors who received complaints and failed to act, administrators who ignored documented warning signs, and the state of New York, where systemic oversight failures contributed to the harm. In cases where a facility has a pattern of ignoring prior complaints, as alleged in cases involving Bedford Hills and Taconic correctional facilities, that evidence significantly strengthens a civil lawsuit and increases the potential for substantial damages. What survivors can recover in a civil lawsuit. A civil lawsuit is about more than punishment. It is about helping survivors begin to rebuild after devastating harm. New York courts recognize the lasting damage that sexual abuse inflicts, particularly abuse that occurred in a place where the survivor had no ability to leave or seek help. Survivors of sexual abuse at Albion Prison may recover compensation for emotional distress, including anxiety, depression, and post-traumatic stress disorder. Therapy, counseling, and long-term mental health treatment costs are all recoverable damages. Additionally, survivors may be awarded compensation for physical injuries, pain and suffering, loss of dignity, and the long-term psychological impact of abuse in a captive setting. In cases involving particularly egregious institutional misconduct, courts may also award punitive damages designed to punish the responsible parties and deter future abuse. Why many survivors wait, and why that may not close your case. Survivors of prison sexual abuse often wait a long time before coming forward. That silence is understandable, and it does not necessarily prevent you from filing a lawsuit. Many women at Albion Prison fear retaliation from officers if they report abuse. Others believe that nothing will happen or that they will not be believed. Still, others carry shame and confusion that are themselves a product of the abuse. Beyond these emotional barriers, the practical risks of reporting, including fear of isolation, loss of privileges, or transfer to a harsher facility, are real obstacles that courts fully recognize when evaluating a survivor's case. In New York, the statute of limitations for civil rights claims under 42 U.S.C. Section 1983 is generally 3 years. However, tolling rules may extend that window in certain circumstances, and every case is different. Do not assume your case is too old to pursue before speaking with an attorney. The law firm of Andrew M. Stengel, PC, evaluates every case individually and will give you an honest assessment of your legal options and timeline. The law firm of Andrew M. Stengel, PC, is ready to stand with you. If you were sexually abused at Albion Correctional Facility, or at Bedford Hills, Taconic, or any other New York correctional facility, you deserve an advocate who will take your case seriously, guard your confidentiality, and fight without hesitation. The law firm of Andrew M. Stengel, PC, represents incarcerated and formerly incarcerated survivors of prison sexual abuse throughout New York State. We handle every case with the seriousness, sensitivity, and determination it deserves. All cases are handled on a contingency fee basis. You pay nothing unless we recover for you. Contact us for a free, completely confidential consultation. Email info@stengellaw.com. For more information, please visit our website, stengellaw.com. Attorney advertising. Prior results do not guarantee a similar outcome.